Do you have a message for the fans of Tupac Nation?
Yeah, man, just keep it thugged out, man. We're gonna keep the prison alive forever. We don't, you know, we have to we have to let everybody's legacy live on with the next generation. So, as far as Tupac, we're gonna keep him alive as long as we alive, and God bless. We do that. They do the same thing for us when we leave, and just keep our legacy alive and make sure our music pumping in as many stereos as possible when we leave here, because death is inevitable, and the God is gonna call everybody's cell phone one day. So when we leave here, we just want to make sure that as great as we've been, they respect us like that. If we've been shitty people, respect us like that. But once we leave and we did great, just put us on the shelf with the greats, and dust our trophy off every now and then, just so people can see it shine, and just keep our light and our legacy alive. Pour out a little liquor for your homies every time you sip, and shout out some of your homies on your song that ain't lived to make it this far. Keep the thug alive.
Badass.
What's up?
What's up, man? Sorry for the delay. I didn't know. I didn't have your contact number. My bad.
Oh, sound good.
All right, I'm gonna start it off. Just softballs. Nothing's real tough here. I really appreciate it. Um, how did you start off rapping, and was it always something you wanted to do?
Well, I started off rapping because I listened to a lot of rap music when I was in like elementary school, and before I wanted to rap, I actually wanted to act, and I got into rapping because I think it was a little easier transition from all the things that I knew about entertainment versus just trying to go act, and I didn't know anything about it, and I felt like I had a little more opportunity in music and rapping, than acting. So I just went for the rapping, but I really had a love for music um, all my life, and as you can see, it became something that I've been doing for almost 20 years. So I did have a great love for music, but like I said, I actually considered being an actor first, and then when I when I really start, tapping into the music, I really fell in love with it.
All right. What was the first song you ever rapped on?
I mean, the first song professionally was "Beware of My Crew." That came out in '95 on the Thin Line Between Love and Hate soundtrack. But a few years before that, I probably recorded my first song, and I can't actually remember the name, but it was one of about four songs I did with a couple of buddies from the Low Life crew.
How did you
So
start? How did you start rapping on Death Row Project?
on what?
Death Row Project.
How did I start rapping on like the label Death Row?
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg brought me to Death Row. He actually was starting his imprint under Death Row Doggy Style Records, which a lot of controversy came through that situation, and we end up kind of severing our ties with Death Row around that time. But that's basically how I was brought to Death Row by Snoop Dogg.
And how was that for you working with, people like Snoop Dogg, working at Death Row Records, the number one record label at the time at such a young age?
It was actually a great experience. I was on the inside looking out, so I didn't really see it how everyone seen it. I knew that I was in a grand situation, to be around Snoop Dogg and Tupac, and I seen the numbers that we were doing and Snoop was doing, and I seen the effect just live performances and, just doing some of the stuff we did. So, I mean, I did feel like I was in a great position, but it's a little different even now to look back at those times. Like, I'm way more of a fan of those days now than I was then because I was creating that, that, that energy with a crew of my friends, and I wasn't really outside to look at it. So I seen it from a different perspective. Like I seen it from, the eyes of me, which were inside the situation looking out. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. I respected it. And like I said, now I look back and I feel very, very blessed to be involved with a legendary situation and one of the biggest hip-hop movements on the West Coast in the 90s, and something that will always be remembered. I feel like it was just a blessing to be involved in that era.
That's a great answer. You know, I got to ask you this. What was the first time you met Tupac? When, I should say.
It was shortly after he got out of jail, shortly after he signed with Death Row. It was a couple of days after he came to Can-Am Recording Studios, which was a Death Row recording studio. And I had spoke to him on the phone like a week before through Snoop. He had called Snoop. Shook put him and Snoop on the phone together. And I had mentioned to Snoop that that was one of my favorite rappers at the time, and Snoop was kind of surprised because we were so close in age, and Pac was big at the time, but I wouldn't say that he was the biggest rapper in the game. There were still a lot of people bigger. There was still a lot of people that had a lot more uh, legacy behind them. LL Cool J. He was at the end of his career making music, real actively, but he was putting out some things in the late and mid '90s when Pac was around, and EPMD. I think they still dropped something. It was a lot of cats around. Snoop Dogg was, he was making noise as a fairly new artist, and I think that Snoop was very surprised that I told him that Tupac was one of my favorite artists, and he put me on the phone with him, and like a week later, I met him in person, and we already had that initial conversation that we had over the phone, which was brief, but we had that, and he recalled that from a week before, only a week before. So once I met him in the flesh, we shook hands, we chilled, and we smoked, and he was in there working on some songs for his project. He was hard at work, so I just got to see like a legend at work and got to become friends with him, and really just spend like probably the last 10 months of his life with him, and in and out a lot of those days that we spent. It was just creating. Like I didn't go to a lot of parties with Tupac. I didn't hang out with a lot of bitches with Tupac. I did music with him, and we hung out in the studio. And even when we had chicks around and all that, we were still working, and we were still, being, artists of that caliber and trying to keep our legacy alive. So it was a wonderful thing to, be able to even cross paths with him and do the work that I did with him, and, just to see the impact that he had on hip hop culture and, the effect that he had on people, period. I feel like, just looking back at that time now, it makes me a bigger fan, and I just appreciate being able to rub shoulders with people so great during my life.
Sorry, that's a really good answer, man. Really good. Um, Speaking of your work with Tupac, that song Ghetto Star, is your version the original?
No, it's actually not. A lot of people don't really ask about it. What happened was my homie Nutso, who is the last outlaw that Tupac put on the Outlaws, who is Keisha Cole's brother. Um, they actually did. Him and Tupac did the song before. Um, Nutso had a different verse. Pac Pac's two verses are exactly the same. There was a different beat. And what happened was they brought me the two verses with the original beat on it, and they lied to me. I was lied to because I already said that if this song was a song that Pac created in a different context, like, you know, they basically lied to me and told me what I wanted to hear because I said, where are these two verses from? They said it's off an old Pac song that Ed Banks produced, that it was just Tupac. And I was like, so there was never anyone on it. No one was taken off. And I was prideful about that because I know how Pac created these songs. That's like how me and him made Crazy. If after he died, somebody who, like Suge or whoever had, the files and was mixing and was just like, oh, fucking badass, ain't nobody take them off. And that's kind of how the concept was with the Ghetto Star. But like I said, I was lied to because when I got it, it was only a couple months after he died. And I was kind of happy because I was working on my first record and I wanted to have Pac on it. I knew if he was alive, he would have got on my record. I know um, when I mentioned it to my label, they had, my A&R brought it to me, and it was, just two Pac verses, and it was a tight-ass beat with the hook. And I'm like, where's this song from? And they explained it to me in the sense that this was a Pac song that had a different beat. It was a different song, but it was just Tupac. Like, he did these verses and he never really completed the song previously. So what we did was we took his vocals, we made a new beat, we put a new hook, so it's an original song, and we threw Pac vocals on it. His vocals have never been released. If you release it, it'll be the first time the world's hearing it. And I was like, oh man, that's kind of fly. And I'm like, yo, honestly, if, this song had any other, stipulations, or it was recorded a different way. And I didn't find out until maybe a year or two later that it was Nutso's song. And I found out from the Outlaws, like one of my homies from the Outlaws was like, badass, where'd you get that verse? I'm like, Priority got it from me. They're like, that's Nutso's song. And I'm like, no way. And at the time, I know of Nutso. I know of his history and his relationship with Tupac, just because I was a good friend with Pac, and I paid attention to a lot of stuff about him. So I knew a lot about his history in the Bay. I knew a lot about, a lot of his friends that he had up there. I ended up meeting a lot of them. And some of them he even put me up on. Like, I found out who these cats were from him. Like Mac Mall, I found out who he was from Pac. And to this day, he's one of my good friends. But he is a Bay Area, hip-hop legend. So at the end of the day, when I did the song, like I said, I recorded it with the information that this was an original song that Pac had did by himself. And like I said, when it was over and it was done, it was already out. And, I love the song. It really was, it wasn't righteous because if you listen to my first album, I did not have Tupac on there. So the Ghetto Star version that is me and Tupac, which is a rarity, it got leaked by the label because we, I didn't want to use the song. I I told them that, I was really not interested in using the song, and if you can get his mom to clear it, then without, any personal channels, because before I was ready to ask the Outlaws and get at Pac's mom to get a clearance, but once I found out that they frauded the shit, I was like, you know what? If you guys can get this cleared, then I'll fuck with it. And they couldn't get it cleared, so I figured that, and that's what happened. So I did the Ghetto Star version of the song by myself on my album. The label leaked the version with me and Pac, and that's the history and the story of that song.
Thank you. I mean, it's a dope ass song though. Like, there's no denying. It's a dope
No,
song.
it's a great record. I love it too. I play it all the time. Like, I got the version with me. I got the version with Pac. Like, I just, I feel that I created songs with Tupac when he was alive. Like I did Untouchable, I did Crazy, I did Out the Moon, I did Only Move for the Money. We did
Is Snoop
what
Dogg
else?
on that track?
Only Move for the Money was originally me, Snoop Dogg, and Tupac. Daz produced it. Once Pac died, he took Snoop off and he rapped over it. So that song originally, I have a copy. No one, I haven't heard it, but I have a copy of that. It's on cassette tape. I have to go through my old cassettes and find it. I told people I have it. I got a copy of it when we first did it. When I first did the hook, Snoop, me, and Tupac, the same verse that Pac bust, but Snoop had a different verse. But he actually bust that verse on the song with JD, Do You Want to Get Down, when he's like, Snoop Dogg, he ain't no follower. Man, I'm a general. And when I put it down, I gotta be so original. I'm quick to bust, just like Daz Dillinger. And that's the little homie, and I'm the big homie, Snoop Don Corleone. Spitting, it was called, it was, the original song was called, three word, it was like three deadly words or something. That's why he said, the Pac said it, something with these three words. And then Snoop said something, splitting three words of enlightenment. And it was like, that Daz kind of changed the concept. But, Daz left it mostly original because I did the hook originally, when Pac was alive. Pac, um, rapped on it, Snoop rapped on it, and Daz had just took Snoop's verse off and put his verse. So that's that was like the thing of that. But I got the jam. I got the jam live with Pac on a lot of songs. I did two, maybe three songs. Now it's gonna be more because I got one on my mixtape with Pop where we came up on a acapella verse where he gave it up for Long Beach, which was, I'm sure it's for the One Nation album because he said that on there, and I was actually on that album. But you know, just to be able to even take some of this stuff because I have some acapellas of his that I'm gonna chop up and I'm gonna make some hooks. I want Pac on some hooks on some of my songs coming out. So, I'm gonna be, rocking some stuff like that. But I feel like, regardless if me personally, it's different if some artist today samples Tupac's voice and uses it because he's a great. It would be like me sampling Biggie. I never met Biggie. I seen him like I seen him like I've been close enough to spit on him. Like, Daz was talking to him one day, and I was standing, like, close enough to shake his hand, but I didn't shake his hand because I didn't know. I was telling Daz, like, you will get us in trouble. We ain't supposed to be talking to them. And I was just like, I was just a loyal dude to the pound, and I didn't know B, so I wasn't going to really talk to him. We didn't have beef with him, but I was cool with Pac, and I didn't really know if it would be cool. And I was like, I was like a baby of the crew, so I didn't have as much power and as much pull as Snoop. Snoop could talk to Biggie and then go talk to Pac and be like, look, man, I said what's up to Biggie. I ran into him, I would be like, out of line, so I didn't really talk to him, but at the end of the day, I feel like as far as Biggie, I love his music. I respected him. I seen what him and, my good friend went through. And like, if I ever sampled Biggie's voice and to put it on a song, it would be because I loved him as an artist and I respected his, what he contributed to hip hop. And I was close to him because he was beefing with one of my best friends. And I feel like as far as Tupac, I chill with him like I made songs with him. I hugged him. I smoked with him. I talked to him. I talked to him alone. I talked to him with other people. Like he was my real friend. So at the end of the day, if you hear me sample Tupac's voice, if you hear me rap on a song with Pac since he's been dead, I don't feel that it's unjustified. I feel that it's very justified. I feel that it's more than, dope. I feel like if Noble samples Tupac's voice and put him on something, then it's more than justified. I feel like Edie or Snoop Dogg or Corrupt or, all these cats that I know that had real relationship. Daz produced 20 songs, maybe 30 songs for Tupac while he was at Death Row. So if you ever heard Daz sample Tupac's voice and put out a new song with Pac, and he haven't seen him in 16, 17 years, I still feel it's more justified than if, any of these kids do it, if Lil Wayne do it, if, if even when Jay-Z remade Pac's song, I respect him because he talked to his mother. And a lot of people ask me, like, me and Jay-Z are cool. And I respect Jigga and I fuck with him whenever we see each other. We never been on a, like, call me, you my homie, like, call my house level. But, like, he would never pass me in the streets without saying what's up. And I would never pass him in the streets without saying what's up. You know? If we was driving on a freeway and we just looked up and seen each other, we gonna roll down the window and go slow and talk like, what's up, nigga? What you doing? You out here? So, and I respect him because when he did fuck with Pac, and he did like me and my girlfriend, and he fucked with Pac, he talked to his mom, and he didn't call Snoop, he didn't call Badass, he didn't call the Outlaws, he called his real mother. And when his mom kissed him on the face and was like, whatever beef you and my son had, that shit is squashed. That shit just went away. The only person that could squash his beef is his mom. And even if we did as friends, it still wouldn't be as potent as if his own mother did it. And if his mom was like, fuck you, Jay-Z, my son didn't like you, I ain't fucking with you, then that's how we would have to take it. But his mom didn't say that. His mom was like, I love you, Jay. Thanks for, doing whatever you did as far as, trying to bake this beef down and keeping it, letting history go forward and, not making this shit a mockery. Because Jay-Z could have came out and be like, I love Biggie, fuck Tupac, But as a mature, individual and understanding that two great men lost their lives about that shit, he always gave it up for his homie Biggie, but he always gave it up for Pac, and that's how I do. I do it the opposite of Jay-Z, because you listen to my raps, you're going to always hear something about Tupac in certain raps, and every now and then you're going to hear me say, one love to Biggie Smalls, but at the end of the day, you always going to hear me give it up to Pac more than Biggie, because Pac was my friend. I changed Drake's rap, and I didn't mean no disrespect to him, but he kind of hurt my feelings when he said it. I understood what he meant. I liked it because he was like, I didn't cry when Pac died, but I probably will when Hov does. And it's like, he closer to Hov. And I felt that it was dope. The first day I heard the line, I thought he was dissing. And I took it hard. But when I listened to it, I was like, Drake is dope. He's creative. He just touched you where it's deep. And it's like, he knew that anybody that loved Pac would take that like, damn, nigga, what you trying to say? But me being a rapper and understanding lyrics and hip-hop and creativity, Drake was just being over honest. And sometimes you don't gotta be that honest, but he was. He knows Jigga. Jigga fucked with him. Jigga came and rapped on his record with him, but he didn't know Pac. So he probably didn't cry, but I cried when Tupac died. So I changed his lyric, and I was like, and it makes it dope for me because Jay-Z is my homie, but I don't know him like that. I probably won't cry when Hov dies, but I cried when Pac died, so I changed Drake's lyrics and was like, I didn't cry when Pac died. I probably won't when Hov does, but, that's just reality.
Where were you when you heard the Pac died?
I was at Track Recording Studio with Daz Dillinger, and we was invited to Vegas. I told Daz, let's go. Tupac asked me to go.
Tupac asked you to go to Vegas?
Yeah. He told me to come. I was like chilling with him like 3 days before, and he was like, Badass, you come to Vegas. I'm performing this weekend. You should come rock with us. And I was like, I'm staying at Daz's house, so, I gotta really, really like see what's up with him because, I was younger at the time and I wasn't really like having my own house and all that shit. So I was like chilling at Daz's house. And besides that, I stayed at my mom's, and I was like, hey, like, if I don't roll with Daz, I'm going to have to go to my mom's, so I don't really want to do that. I'm trying to thug it out and see what Daz going to do. And Pac was like, yo, he was like, tell Daz to roll. So this is a really significant part of this situation because I've told this story in several interviews, and I've talked about it a lot of times with my friends, and it was really crazy because I went into the next room while Pac was in the next room, and I went and asked Daz because me and Daz had came to the studio together. We was in the next studio having a session. Pac and a couple of the Outlaws was in the other session. So when I went over there to say what's up to Tupac, and he invited me to the show that weekend, I said, hold on, let me go see what if Daz want to go. So I went in there all pumped up, and I was like, hey Daz, Pac just invited me to the show this weekend. We should go. They performing at Sugar's Club in Vegas. And he was like, Rage is going. He already mentioned Rage was going, and he already mentioned Nate Dogg was going. Mind you, Nate Dogg is the one who called us and told us Sugar and Tupac was dead. That was the first thing I ever heard to get to that part. But Daz was like, no, I'm not going to that shit. You want to roll with them? And, we didn't have beef with the blood part of Death Row, but if you know anything about Death Row, it was made up of a lot of Bloods and a lot of Crips. Suge had most of the Bloods, which was his homies and friends, and that, we had a couple of rap groups. DJ Quick rolled with us. OFTB was Bloods. It was a couple of Bloods, and the rest of us and our homies is mostly Crips. So Daz was like, you going, it's going to be all the Bloods there and blah, 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 and none of the homies are going to be there. And I was like, dang, I didn't really think of it like that. I don't really feel uncomfortable, but now that you're saying like that, he's like, Snoop ain't going. Like, why would you want to roll? Why we don't roll like that? You roll with Death Row when the homies roll. And I was like, you right. So I ran back over there and I told Pac, like, Pac, I probably ain't gonna be able to roll. And he was like, that's what's up. He was like, well, I'll catch you, when I come back and blah blah blah. And we chopped it up, and that was the last time I ever talked to him. Like after when he got ready to leave, like we said our goodbyes, and that was the last time I ever seen him or talked to him in life. And I remember it like it was yesterday, because that was the last time I talked to Tupac, and he introduced me to over 20 people, and the majority of those people, besides Gaddafi, is dead. He introduced me to him. He introduced me to Big Sight. He introduced me to Keisha Cole. He introduced me to, oh man, he introduced me to Mike Tyson. He introduced me to, man, so many people. Like, he introduced me to so many people that I I didn't. And when I see these people right now, he introduced me to all the Outlaws. Mo Preem, he introduced me to Big Sight, Gaddafi, um, you know, Edie, Napoleon, Castro, everyone. He introduced me to all those cats personally, like, this is Napoleon badass, and he explained how he knew him, a brief little detail where he met him or how they got on with them. I met him, blah blah blah, and he broke it down, and I knew so much about these cats from instantly, and even when Pac died, I kicked it with the Outlaws a lot. I became friends. They moved into my apartment building, and we became tight, and I got a chance to, find out some other things, some intimate details. But, Pac was a great man. I really, really, really feel blessed to be able to work with him, to be able to chill with him, to be able to say that that was my friend.
No doubt, no doubt. So the statements that there was a kind of a rift between DPG crew and the Outlaws camp, is that true? Or was it just a gang thing in the studio?
No. We had, we squabble like bigger brothers, and he said we squabble like brothers to settle our differences. One of the Outlaws said that on the song, but never a kind of beef that you could say had anything any kind of significance, always had tension. I remember a story where Tupac and Corrupt was about to fight, and I wasn't there, and I heard it, and I remember the story because when they came back from Cancun or Mazatlan or wherever they went,
Cabo San
it was
Lucas.
I think they were in Cabo. I wasn't there. It was like a 5 or 6 of the homies had went. A few of the outlaws went with Snoop, Dazz, Corrupt. Nate had went, and Pac and Corrupt had got into it. You know, a little argument, but it had got uh, verbally physical. Like they was talking about fighting, basically. Like I'll fuck you up. And then Nate Dogg was like, you know, like you fuck him up, you gotta fuck me up. And the Outlaws was like, you fuck with him, you gotta fuck with us. And then Shoot came over there supposedly and broke it up type shit. And you know, when they came back, it was a little tension. But at the end of the day, like I said, regardless, these stories we always make as fun, historical stories, and we never leave it like the Dog Pound and the Outlaws ever had beef, because we never have. And whatever kind of, you know, brotherly tiffs that we had, they happened. You know, I got into it with Napoleon. It was over thinking that like we were speaking to each other's girls or something. Like it happened. I don't know. We lived in the same apartment building. I would say hello to his girlfriend, like his baby's mom. He would say hello to my baby's mom. You know, they're beautiful women. Like she's beautiful. Like well, I would take her out if I didn't, you know her from that situation, and he would probably take my baby. So at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it, like he never fucked with my kid's mom. I never fucked with his kid's mom. So whatever, even that tension, like now to this day, we're like some of the best of friends, and even if we bring these situations up, we laugh about it. But I do remember that, and I remember where I was like, "Is this fool trying to mess with my girl?" And you know, I went and talked to him, and you know, we wasn't talking like all happy. Like we was like, "Yo, what's up, homie? Like what's going on?" And blah blah blah. So you know, at the end of the day, somebody outside looking in might be like, "Oh, they're gonna fight," but if you think if you think your homie stole your wallet, you go ask him, and I don't think you're going to be laughing or smiling like it's a joke because you're serious, and that doesn't mean you're accusing him. That doesn't mean that, you know, you and him are going to fight because you think that he stole your wallet. It's just something that you have to address, and that's what happens sometimes. And sometimes as men, we have issues and we address them, and other people look from the outside looking in and like, oh, they're tripping on each other. But really, we just addressing our issues. And sometimes when good friends address their issues, you know, it becomes a beef, and sometimes it doesn't. And that's how our situation was. It didn't ever become a beef. It just became us addressing our issues. Like, nigga, you just stepped on my toe. Oh, excuse me. Oh, what you trying to say? And that's how we was. We meant about it, so we're going to say it. No one ever stole a song or did nothing foul, so we never had to fight or, do nothing like that. But you bump into the nigga wrong, they might say something. So to me, that's how our relationship was. It was like a lot of talented, egotistical men who respected each other to a big degree. And that was dope because if we didn't have that respect, there probably would have been a lot of fights and a lot of, spitting in each other's faces. But at the end of the day, we looked at each other like, that dude will shoot me for spitting in his face, so I ain't gonna just spit in his face. And if I do, I'm gonna make sure I'm ready for war because he ain't gonna take it lightly. And that's how we all respect each other. It's like a lot of pit bulls that'll eat each other up just eating food together. And that's how it was. Like, don't pinch my plate and I won't pinch yours because if you try to, take something off my plate, I'm gonna bite your hand. And that's how the respect went around. And I just think that we all had a even respect regardless of what we thought or felt about each other.
That's the best explanation of that I've ever heard. I've interviewed a lot of people.
Yeah, I was there. I lived it. I love it. I'm so much a part of it. Everybody, I've had a lot of people ask me like, badass, you don't fuck with the Dog Pound no more and all this because, we grown. I just made 37. I'm one of the youngest members of the crew besides some of the new cats, but I I don't hang with my homies every day. I got everybody's number. Sometimes I call and the numbers change, and I got to call like Dad's to get Corrupt's number because, we don't always change the numbers and call everybody.
How did the collaboration from 2009 Subpower album with Busy Bone come along?
Excuse me?
How did the collaboration from 2009 Subpound album with Busy Bone come about?
No, not really. You said, how did what collaboration? I can't hear you that good.
Okay,
You
hold on.
said the Thug Pound with Busy Bone?
Yeah, the 2009 collaboration with Busy Bone. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's my guy. That's my guy, man. Busy is my dude. And, we, ooh, like basically my boy Frank Nitty, he came up with me, part of the Low Life. Him and Busy hit it off real cool, and, since, like, I met Busy before him. Me and Busy was cool. That was always one of my favorite members, from Bone Thugs. Him and Flesh, and I don't know, we got a chance to hook it up. We talked about it like one day and we made it happen. So that was one of those kind of chemistry set things that the chemistry just went together and we did it. I love the record. We recorded, the majority. I say like 80% of the record, we recorded it together. He records different too because he would knock out like four verses and then I'd go in and do my verses and then I'd start off like, like two or three songs and then he'd go in and rock them. So the songs like you hear me on the front of, some of those songs, I did like three of those songs like in one day and then he'll go back and do his. So it was a cool vibe, but like I like Busy because he was different because he would go in the booth for like 6 hours. He'll just stay in there and do like all his parts and then like he'll come out and be like, go ahead, badass rock, and then I'll go in there and do whatever I do for whatever time I do it. But it was tight because, it's just a different kind of structure and format that he did, and it was cool. It was a great experience. It was a learning experience, and like Busy Bone is a genius. I respect him. You know.
Um, what projects are you currently working on, and what can we expect from Badass in the future?
Well, currently it's untitled. I was gonna name my album "I'm Back and I Ain't Went Nowhere" because I did a mixtape series, and I just
Volume
wanted to
1 and
be
Volume
done.
2?
Yeah, I did Volume 1 and Volume 2, and then this was gonna be the album. "I'm Back and I Ain't Went Nowhere," the album. But I decided that I wanted to just kill that concept with the two mixtapes and just keep it there, and then just come with a new concept. But my new album is done. I've been listening to it every day. I'm happy with it. It's really really dope, and I'm just gonna create, man. I'm not really worried about being like super back in the spotlight. I got a handful of core fans that love me. I'm really trying to broaden that little base and touch some more of the fans that really love me, but don't know that I have you know that I'm still creating. So once I can tap into that, and I'm cool because like basically, I'm not really. I mean, I would love to put out one album that sold 10 million, but I'm not really pressed on it. I just want to touch my fans, keep making my money, and taking care of myself, and just growing in that aspect. If it's somebody new, then it's cool. Like I don't want to buy any Twitter followers or any Facebook friends. If I gain one fan a week, one fan a day, one fan a month, then and it's a real, true fan that really would still consider badass when they meet other artists or artists come in their life. Like Snoop Dogg is still one of my favorite rappers. Tupac is still one of my favorite rappers. I love Kanye West. I think he's dope. I think Nipsey Hussle is dope. And what I'm doing is I'm just getting up to date. Like I like Kendrick Lamar, and I'm just saying that since I love Kendrick Lamar now, I don't not like Tupac anymore. You know what I'm trying to say? And a lot of hip hop fans are like that. I had fans in the '90s that they don't like me no more because they like ASAP Rocky, and it's like fuck them, you know. And I just want to spot in the real hip hop fans' hearts that still love Redman, that always will say once they fall in love with Badass, they gonna have my album on the shelf with Redman and with Outkast and with Jay-Z and with Tupac and with every other, with Big L and with Big Pun, and they gonna have my shit on the shelf with all of them. And one day they gonna pop it in and they gonna listen to my shit just as well as they gonna listen to Run DMC or LL Cool J or Ice Cube or any other real dope hip hop artist.
No doubt, and I think they will. Do you have a message for the fans of TupacNation.net?
Yeah, man, just keep it thugged out, man. We're gonna keep the prison alive forever. We don't, you know, we have to let everybody's legacy live on with the next generation. So, as far as Tupac, we're going to keep him alive as long as we alive, and God bless, we do that they do the same thing for us when we leave, and just keep our legacy alive and make sure our music pumping in as many stereos as possible when we leave here, because, death is inevitable, and the God is going to call everybody's cell phone one day. So when we leave here, we just want to make sure that as great as we've been, they respect us like that. If we've been shitty people, respect us like that. But once we leave and we did great, just put us on the shelf with the greats, and dust our trophy off every now and then, just so people can see it shine, and just keep our light and our legacy alive. Pour out a little liquor for your homies every time you sip, and shout out some of your homies on your song that ain't lived to make it this far. Keep the thug alive.
This is a Jmix exclusive.
What up, shut up?